Stillwater's Morning Scramble. Glad to have you here at 8:25. Daniel Thrasher is in. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Steve. Welcome back from vacation.
Yeah, thanks. Welcome back to you. I haven't seen you in a while either.
Yeah, it has been a while. So, but
you weren't on last week.
I was not. No, we at last minute I jumped in and said, "Hey, Jordan, can we call an audible?" And had Cordell from our team come on with our two youth tour participants, the two students that we sent to Washington, D.C. this summer from Stillwater High School, Tanner and Peyton. In fact, Tanner right now is sweating on the football field with the high school marching band and my son as they're doing workouts.
Did you drop him off at 6:45?
Luckily, my son drives now, so he got his own self out of bed and drove himself to practice and drives himself back. So that's
the good news. The odd part of the story is he's only 12.
Yeah.
Daniel has some clout.
Yeah, I didn't mention that, but no. That's made our lives a lot easier this summer. But speaking of youth tour, I actually got a text message from Cade Crawford last night after I posted on LinkedIn that I was going to have Sid on. Cade texted me, and Cade Crawford, as your listeners will know, has been on the show a lot and works for Simmons Bank, is also president of the Chamber of Commerce here locally this year. But Cade participated in youth tour with Tri-County Electric 25 years ago, and he said Sid Sperry was his director, was one of his chaperones on that trip to Washington, D.C. 25 years ago. So that's the introduction, I guess, for Sid here.
You were just a boy then.
Yeah, yeah.
Barely driving.
Yeah. But Sid is the Director of Communications and Public Relations for the Oklahoma Association Electric Co-ops, which we're a member of, and provide a lot of support to electric co-ops. And I'll let Sid jump in here and tell about his role and what they do. But just kind of interesting, last week we had a couple of young youth tour members on the radio, and then Cade, who is a great leader for our community, somebody very involved in our community, telling me about his experience at youth tour and how much that meant to him, and what it's done for his career going forward. And again, that's part of what OAC helps us do as electric co-ops, and helps with some of the organization with those youth programs and things like that.
So where did Cade live at that time?
He was in Hooker, Oklahoma.
Okay. Would you like to, since you know Cade, I'm going to show you a gift that Cade presented me a few weeks ago on this show, and then you can read it aloud and welcome to the air. There you go. That's from Cade Crawford.
Hooker, Oklahoma. Support your local hookers. Yes.
There you go.
Now, I was told at one time that the baseball team was known as the Hooker Horny Toads. That's true. Yeah. I think that's true.
Now, I think it's not I think it's true too. But the way I was told, it's not school affiliated.
That's correct.
So the school was not, but yeah, they were the Horny Toads.
That is correct.
Hey, if you got an industry, you promote it. And so, but I think the way he was saying, you have fun with these things, and they've got T-shirts and stuff, and they actually are able to, come up with a little cash like that.
Yeah,
and
promote
it's
their
fundraisers
community.
a little bit.
Absolutely.
And people laugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they were the Horny Toads. So.
Leave it to Cade to bring that to you.
Yeah. And I just met Sid, but I didn't know he was going to go there already.
Well,
so, welcome. It's just a fact, right?
I'm a Western Oklahoma native myself from Gage, Oklahoma, which is not all that far from.
So when you went to what we call the city, when you went to town, where'd you go? If you grew up in Gage,
well, the first city that I moved to was Alva, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And then to Guthrie, which is where I still reside. Work in Oklahoma City. My wife works here at Oklahoma State, so she drives from Guthrie. I drive into Oklahoma City, so she drives north, I drive south, and we meet in the middle at night in Guthrie.
Well, that sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, it is a good plan.
So, and you're in PR.
PR, communications, and research. Probably of those three, I enjoy the research side the most. PR is great, don't get me wrong, but enjoy the research. I'm not an accountant, but I do a lot of number crunching for the co-ops and pass that information along to managers, directors, that kind of thing.
So tell me what kind of research you do.
Anything co-op related, anything energy industry related, legislative research. I help our legislative director. I look at demographic data for the state of Oklahoma for the areas that our co-ops serve. So it could be just about anything, not just kilowatt hours and not just revenues, those kind of things, but a whole raft of research.
Daniel's mentioned a few times renewables. And the world is changing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And so you keep an eye on that too, right?
This is in December, I was just visiting with Daniel earlier. In December, I will have 39 years in the industry. And over that 39-year period of time, of course, many changes in the industry, as Daniel knows. But the one thing that has become very prominent, especially over the last 5 to 10 years, has been the growth of renewables. Part of that, I think, is definitely attributable to advancements in technology.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We don't sit still, and that's a good thing. I think being progressive and moving forward in that area is something that you'll see a lot more co-ops and a lot more of their power suppliers moving forward with in the future.
I saw a building last week that was, I think, over 60 stories high. The roof is at an angle like this. You've probably seen those, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a solar roof.
Solar roof, yeah.
And they said it ran on the power of 3 houses, 3 homes.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing, isn't it? Is that the future?
I think that's a part of the future. Yeah. I think, of course, right now, on the renewable side, wind is still probably the leader as far as renewables are concerned. Certainly in Oklahoma and Texas. Texas is a huge provider of wind energy. But solar is definitely growing. I still count, I know some people don't, but I still count hydropower as a renewable, because when it rains, it renews. But when it doesn't rain, it doesn't. So maybe that's the fine line.
Are you an engineer too?
No, sir.
Okay.
My boss.
That's a compliment,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
No,
Because nobody ever accused me of being one.
I have an English degree and a speech communications minor, so
That works too.
yeah, that.
But you know a lot
no
about this
engineer.
stuff now, right?
Only because of
Okay.
the number of years I think I've spent in the industry and watching it evolve.
Going to wind energy, you mentioned Oklahoma and Texas. I saw it in the Northeast. I mean, I saw several turbines. Pennsylvania's got several of them.
Yeah, even in the coastal areas, one of the things that's starting to develop are you'll see large wind farms out into the ocean,
Right.
literally. And so there are all kinds of utilities or private entities that are making a lot of headway with wind farms.
And I've asked Daniel. I guess I can ask. I think I asked you on the air. But we are an oil state still. I mean,
We are.
Yeah.
And I've asked you if you've had pushback. I mean, because we are moving forward, and you said not really.
No, I've even mentioned we've had some oil and gas companies that we serve engage us about solar and to talk about, hey, is that an option for us in the future, and how would that work? So we haven't experienced that level of pushback. Now, is it the right investment at this time for them? Maybe, maybe not. But we can have those individual conversations with oil and gas companies or other businesses and help them make a decision that might be right for them.
Well, you remember it was 10 or 15 years ago now when Boone Pickens was buying all those network TV spots for wind energy.
Mm-hmm.
I just read an article this morning as I was sitting in the car out in front of your building that Mr. Pickens has divested one of his oil and gas funds and purchased some renewable energy on the wind side. So that just happened literally within the last 48 hours. So I think he's a...
Thank you for being breaking news this morning.
Well, he's a very wise man, and I think he looks at energy futures and sees where the doors are opening and some that are closing.
I think in an interview about, because he got off of that, because he was buying spots on the network news out of his own money. He was paying, and I think he said, I think I was a little bit ahead of the rest. You know, they weren't ready for that yet.
Right.
So we had to kind of pull back.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned, excuse me, I think that's one thing that you mentioned, Steve, that probably bears some comment on is the fact that Oklahoma, while an oil and gas state, from the electric utility industry on the co-ops, I think you'll find that it's kind of an all-of-the-above state.
Yeah.
There's still a little mix of coal out there, a lot of natural gas production as far as electricity is concerned. But the moves obviously are in the direction of renewables right now. But there's a good balance. I think Daniel can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think over time you'll probably see coal fade a little bit. but a lot of that has to do with efficiency and pricing, especially.
Absolutely.
Pricing on renewables is coming down. It wasn't always that way.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And we, as a co-op, we have to take in input from our membership. Our board does, and our management team does. And so you do have a segment of your membership that is very interested in renewables and what that means, and how they could begin using renewables in their own homes. But then you also have a large segment of your membership that their primary concern is reliable energy at the lowest price possible. And so, I think Sid is right on. How long will it be until the cost of renewables gets to that point to where it's matching what you see with what we've typically had in the past with coal and other sources? So I think that's going to be the tipping point. Whether that happens in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, who knows? But I think that day's coming. It's just a matter of when does that actually occur.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add that it's interesting. We talk about environmentalists and their concern with renewables and wanting that growth to happen. I've always considered Oklahoma. I'm a native Oklahoman from northwest Oklahoma. If you're in agriculture at all, you're an environmentalist. Let's face it. So a lot of our agriculture folks are very interested in renewables as well, and I do think that path forward is pretty bright.
So did you grow up in ag?
I didn't. I actually lived on a farm for a while, and we leased out our acreage.
Right.
But I was always around animals and cows and horses and that kind of thing. But
you are right, being an environmentalist and also being up on technology. I have dairy in my family, and I have a brother-in-law who I don't know whether he'll ever go to that next step or not, but they have a creamery, milk about 150 head. It's not like they're not Brahms, but he's looking at robots.
Yeah.
I mean, that and where you can have everything. You run it basically on a desktop. Basically, you sit there and you watch it, or a laptop or whatever. And he's shown me what he's seen on the computer and stuff. I don't know whether they'll take that step or not, but it sizes everybody. And if you're having trouble finding employees or whatever, which it is in the world today, that may be the most fiscally responsible thing. Robots. Who would have guessed that in the dairy industry? But I guarantee you, probably at Brahms and places like that, they're already doing it.
Yeah, they're already doing it, and we have farmers in our area that are automating their tractors, and that are self-driving tractors.
They have a GPS on them.
Absolutely, we have farmers in the area that are using UAV technology to help with spraying in their fields, and looking at crops and how their growth patterns are and things of that nature. So, farming is an innovative field, and I agree with Sid. It's an environmental field, and we see a lot of that in this area. And of course, we're blessed to have Oklahoma State right in our backyard, and a lot of that innovation coming out of this university and helping farmers in this area.
Get a break in here, and we'll do part two. How's that sound?
Sounds great. Yep.